believe it? We are only a few days away from SummerSlam, which means we've had the go-home edition of Raw, which is there to get us all pumped up and revved for the hottest show of the summer. I'll tell you this, a little spoiler, it was actually quite decent. So when you combine that with what WWE did last week, they are on a little bit of a run. But let's find out just how good it was, and let's find out just how bad it was by taking the finger of power and giving the good bits an up and giving the bad bits a down. That's what I, Simon Miller, do every single damn week. I'm very lucky to do so. Let's up those downs. Raw did indeed start with a 10-bell salute for the victims of the El Paso and Dayton shootings that happened over the weekend. And obviously it was really important they did do that because we can never forget. And naturally, everybody's thoughts and feelings here at WhatCulture go out to anybody that was involved. Raw's intro then started and was all of a sudden stopped and interrupted because Samoa Joe was standing on the announce table and he was going absolutely crazy. Giving it up. His beef was that he was sick of everyone saying that it was he who tried to kill Roman Reigns because he wasn't even anywhere near the scene, which meant it was bullshit, and he demanded some apologies, and really, rightfully so. Michael Cole did attempt to ruin it by letting us know that WWE.com had run a poll, and on that poll, an overwhelming amount of people had said that they didn't think the Roman Reigns incident on SmackDown was an accident, and apparently that is enough to besmirch Samoa Joe's name. I mean, imagine that in any other walk of life. Hello, John Smith. Hello, John Smith. We did a poll, and the poll said that we think you've stabbed someone, so now you're going to jail. And John Smith would be like, what do you mean? A poll? What kind of poll? It was a Twitter poll. You'd be like, are you kidding me? With that said, Samoa Joe was so good here, I understand why he doesn't just take over the whole company. We could have Monday Night Joe, or Joe Down, or Smack Joe, whatever the hell you want. I could completely believe that he was just incredibly mad that everybody thought it was him that tried to kill Roman Reigns. This was a great way to kick off Raw. It was then Becky Lynch teaming up with Charlotte Flair to take on Natalya, who was teaming up with Trish Stratus, and I know that makes absolutely no sense, but I don't care. Giving it up. Now, before we get going here, yes, we do have to give this a down because if you are well into your stories, it was utterly baffling, but also you can take that down and combine it into one big one because it was said on commentary as Natalya was making her way to the ring. Oh, by the way, at SummerSlam, it is going to be Becky Lynch versus Natalya, and it is now going to be a submission match, even though on last week's episode of Raw, Natalya had said, and you remember it, we did a whole thing about it, I would challenge you to a submission match, but I've decided not to challenge you to a submission match, and yet now we're having a submission match. It really sometimes hurts my brain, but for all of that, down. Outside of that, this was a really enjoyable match though. At first I was a bit confused because we did kick it off with Becky Lynch versus Natalya, and I was like, why would you want to give that away before Sunday? But they had such a good little exchange, I thought it built up to that very well. And also, Trish Stratus never got in the thing, so if you're trying to sell the fact that SummerSlam was her first match in ages, you still can. Eventually, Charlotte got pissed off. She attacked Becky Lynch because that's what she wanted to do. And then Natalya put Becky Lynch in the sharpshooter. And even though Becky was holding the ropes, Natalya was like, I don't care. I just want to snap her legs in two. Which meant it all ended in one big disqualification. All right, no complaints from me. I'm still excited about both those things I'm going to see on Sunday. And all this did was add in a few extra pieces without overdoing the story. Have a salute. We give another salute to Andrade versus Rey Mysterio. Wonderful. Up. I think there is a good chance you could run this match every single week and these two would still come up with spots that were brand new and you'd never seen before. I mean, within the first 60 seconds, we'd seen one of those sunset flip power bombs on the outside into the barricade. It looks amazing. Playing off of last week, the idea here was that Andrade is a massive dick and he doesn't care about the sanctity of Rey Mysterio's mask, even though Andrade himself used to wear a mask down in Mexico. He's forgotten his roots, damn it. It happened here again because Mr. Tranquilo was trying to rip that off of Rey's head, and in all of that fracas, Zelina Vega got involved. That caused a distraction. Andrade was able to hit the hammerlock DDT. 1, 2, 3. Andrade gets a big win on Raw. This just served everybody involved. We used Rey Mysterio's legacy to build Andrade up, and yeah, that was 2 opening matches to kick off the show. And when does that ever happen? The answer is never, apart from today. And also, for anybody that thought that Maria Kanellis was going to be the 24/7 champion for a long ass time, well, you were wrong. You should have cashed out your bet. But still, this was utterly ridiculous. It's getting it up. Mike and Maria have gone to the doctor's office to get a checkup on their unborn baby, and throughout all of this, intentionally so, but still, Maria was really, really annoying. She was so annoying that if I had been in that waiting room, I would have considered rolling Maria up for the 1, 2, 3, and then by proxy, I would have been 24/7 champion. Eventually, they got into their appointment, and can you believe it? The doctor, even though Maria didn't see, was actually NXT referee Jessica Carr. So when Mike Kanellis was pretending to massage Maria's shoulders and calmed her down, he was actually pinning her. He did get the victory, and he ran out of there with the 24/7 title. I mean, again, if that happened in the real world, that would be newspaper headlines everywhere. But it's not. It's wrestling. It was funny. It then turned out that R-Truth and Carmella are really weird stalker people because they were waiting in the waiting room for Mike Kanellis in some of the worst disguises you've ever seen in your life. But R-Truth stood up. He said his water broke. He pulled a fake baby from nowhere. He threw it in the air. For some reason, Mike Kanellis caught that. And in all of this, he got rolled up. R-Truth once again, I think the 11th time 24/7 champion. Which is a bit like watching WWE on drugs. But, you know, again, put a smile on my face. What are you going to do? We came out of this into a Becky Lynch promo, and she just spat fire. She was exceptionally pissed off with Natalya because she didn't believe a single word that she was saying. The only reason Natalya hasn't made it to the top of WWE is because she was too obsessed with going on reality shows and doing duck faces on social media. When all is said and done, after their match at SummerSlam, Canada is gonna have a new hero. If only we had left it there, but instead we cut to Natalya, who said, roll it. Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Nobody Talks Like That with me, Simon Miller. Natalya, you made it back for a second week in a row because once again, when you were getting revved up and ready for your match against Becky Lynch, you went and said, Becky Lynch, you can't make me tap to your arm bar. You can't even break my arm because even if you do break my arm, I still won't tap. All you needed to say, Natty, was even if you do break my arm, I won't tap out. But saying you can't break my arm, even if you do break my arm, I still won't tap out is a waste of words. It's a waste of breath. And more importantly, nobody talks like that. It was then time to build up our SummerSlam main event as Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar made their way to the ring. Give it up. I imagine this will divide people, but it really does depend on what your current viewpoint of the situation is. As Paul Heyman rightfully pointed out last week, he was begging Brock Lesnar not to beat up Seth Rollins anymore. His client ignored him, and now Seth Rollins is just a broken mess. And he's also a stupid mess because Heyman had learned that Seth hadn't stayed at home, he wasn't in the hospital, and he was in the arena. Rollins did limp out using a steel chair as a crutch, which is ridiculous, Seth, because a doctor will give you an actual crutch if you ask and you have injuries. I'm not going to lie, he kind of looked like a pathetic child here because he ran in the ring, Brock Lesnar just kicked him, then he hit him with the chair, then he threw him into the post, and then he F5'd him, and once again Seth Rollins was left lying on his bum. Brock Lesnar basically treated him like a piece of food that he wasn't sure if he wanted to eat, and then he realized he was peckish, ripped through him like cheese. The aftermath to this was that Seth Rollins got on a microphone and he was all beat up and he was all emotional saying, I don't care how destroyed I am, the WWE is my life, wrestling is everything to me, and I guarantee you that I am going to beat Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. And my gut feeling, my initial reaction was, well, I hope you don't, because Seth, no offense, the last few weeks you've looked like an absolute chump. The problem is, I don't think that's the idea here, but this is where we're at. And yeah, if you come in and put a gun to my head and say, Simon, who do you want to win in the main event at SummerSlam? As always, I'm like, dude, put the gun down. I like wrestling. We can just talk about it. But also, given how they've been presented, I don't want to see Seth Rollins as my Universal Champion. I'm quite happy with the beast, the dominant one, Brock Lesnar. We also have to point out that Seth is still ducking me. I haven't heard anything back from him from weeks after he issued his open challenge, but pushing that to one side, I just don't think this worked in the way that WWE intended. And if Seth does retain the championship in a few days, it all may be a little bit confusing, but in terms of what we saw here, yeah, look, Brock's back on top of the world. He looks like an absolute monster. I guess I have some sympathy for Seth, just not the correct sympathy. It's more like he's a bit of a bum. We had an interview with Kurt Angle next because he is going to be the special guest referee when Drew McIntyre takes on Cedric Alexander later. And while that doesn't really make any sense, they were in Kurt's hometown, so I guess it's going to be fine. Eventually, Street Profits turned up. They had a little milk drink-a-thon. In the corner, Drew was just watching them like, you lot are a bunch of geeks, which they were, but I like geeks, so there. And then once again, the Viking Raiders beat a couple of jobbers. It was fine, it's what we do now. They're kind of in the background. I presume they'll get their big push post-SummerSlam. Whatever, go pillage a village. We also then got a very, very nice tribute video for Harley Race, who did pass away last week. I mean, I know that he was an older man and that he was suffering from ill health, but he was such a legend and such a trailblazer, and he did so much for pro wrestling. It wasn't hard to see that news and just think, hot damn, can't life be crazy? But as always, WWE just did a wonderful job here all round. It was very, very fitting. And then somebody come put a sock in my mouth because it deserves to be shut. Well done, WWE. You got me. You really got me. Give it up. It was meant to be Drew McIntyre versus Cedric Alexander, but the match never happened because once again the Scottish psychopath went absolutely crazy and just beat the hoo-ha after Cedric. Although to be fair, the last blow was from Alexander because he did a tornado DDT onto the apron. Nope, it wasn't the apron, it was onto the ramp. Sometimes, you know, the hardest part of the ring, I go a bit crazy. The ramp. All of this left Kurt Angle in the middle of the ring like a lost child, but that is when it happened. I never saw it coming. The lights started to flicker, the atmosphere got weird, the ambience got terrifying, and Bray Wyatt appeared and he stuck the mandible claw on Kurt Angle as everybody reacted like a proper superstar had arrived. It was really, really cool and just the perfect evolution for Wyatt's character. I hope he goes on to SummerSlam and absolutely destroys Finn Balor and he somehow gets a championship before the end of the year. This was so well done. It came out of nowhere. It's just win after win after win when it does come to Bray Wyatt. Now let's keep everything crossed and close our eyes and just tense really hard that we don't ruin this. We really cannot ruin it. With all that said, I have been sitting on this for a few weeks too, but it finally got me last night. We got to talk about the things that Michael Cole says when the Fiend is in the ring, and when we do that, he gets it down. This evening he shouted, oh no, the Fiend, the Fiend, the Fiend. He's got it locked in on Kurt Angle, and he couldn't have sounded any less scared if he tried. Just don't say anything. Let the moment speak for itself, and it was even worse because when he did come back from commercial, Michael Cole was just talking about something else. I know it's not his fault. I know he has to do what someone in his ear is yelling, but, you know, I can only judge the TV product as it comes to me in my eyes and in my face. Drives me bonkers. Everything between the OC, New Day and Ricochet was fine as well. Give it up. Not much to say really. It was meant to be Gallows and Anderson versus Big E and Xavier Woods, but then AJ Styles was getting involved, which meant it segued into a 6-man tag match with AJ Styles and Ricochet making up the numbers. Then after AJ Styles got involved again, Gallows and Anderson hit the Magic Killer on Xavier Woods and they got the win. The OC looked really dominant. Cool. I mean, I'd love to give you more, but there's just not that more to give sometimes. Things just tick along to the point I guess I should leave. I'm gonna leave, gonna go down here. No idea why. It's a different way to go, isn't it? I'm back! Which won't be the same for Roman Reigns if whoever is trying to murder him gets their way. So it's time, it's here, we've arrived. We've gotta do some investigating. Give it up. Right, let's get to investigating. The first piece of evidence we have is that Samoa Joe stormed to the ring and he demanded that Roman Reigns joined him in the squared circle because he wanted an apology. When the big dog didn't come out, Samoa Joe then stormed backstage. He found Roman Reigns in a car and they yelled at each other for a little bit. Roman Reigns was like, "You tried to kill me," and Samoa Joe was like, "I did not try to kill you." Unfortunately, somebody is definitely trying to kill the former WWE champion because he was in his car here and then another vehicle appeared out of nowhere and it rammed itself into Roman Reigns' car, hence the attempted murder. Interestingly though, this was met with nothing but concern. Not only was Samoa Joe worried about his fellow wrestler, but then Jamie Noble and Triple H appeared out of nowhere as if they were Pokemon, and they too were very, very concerned about Roman Reigns, who understandably was quite shook up. The first question we must ask is, where was Rikishi? Because never forget, he did it, stupid thing, he did it for The Rock. Do have to say, I am enjoying this because I like a good whodunit tale, and now we have red herrings and we have some distractions. In fact, some people are even saying maybe it was Daniel Bryan. And maybe it was Daniel Bryan. However, we have further evidence in this regard because the person driving the now tainted vehicle, well, basically the car wasn't an electric one, and I would presume Daniel Bryan drives an electric car. All in all, though, I'm excited to find out who killed Roman Reigns, or who tried to kill Roman Reigns. After this, it was a 4-way elimination match for the women's tag team titles. And before we get into it, we do have to give it a down. Why? Well, look, the women's tag team titles have been treated like an absolute joke. All of a sudden, you got 4 teams involved here that were meant to have singles match at some point or another, and we could have done so much more with this Nikki Cross-Alexa Bliss relationship if we had just given it more time, as opposed to getting a few weeks away from where we were and going, oh, actually, we quite like those two together, so now they will be legit friends. So all of that gets a down. As for the match itself, though, that is getting up. Now, yes, this was an elimination match, as said, which meant adverts got shoehorned into the middle, but I ain't gonna get mad at that if WWE only does it once per show or here or there. It's where it takes over everything that it sucks. So today, they get a free pass. The real shock was that the first team out of here was the Iconics, which means we were definitely getting brand new tag team champions. Mandy Rose hit Billie Kay with basically a V-trigger. That was that. They were really upset, the Iconics. And then the breaks. They acted like they only had 1 month to live because the Iconics are just very entertaining like that. And before long, Asuka was tapping Mandy Rose out to the Asuka lock, which meant the last 2 teams were the Kabuki Warriors, taking on Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Sucked to be Kairi Sane because she then got hit by the Moment of Bliss, which meant, yes, they are your brand new tag team champions. While I jump through that quickly too for the sake of time, I do want to underline that this was a very decent contest and was so good that if WWE wants to capitalize on it and finally make those women tag team championships mean something, they can. Although really there's more chance of me just flying off into space and heading to the moon. I do have to throw an out of nowhere down in there for the Kabuki Warriors entrance with Paige. If you haven't seen it, please do go and see it. And as you do, just imagine somebody sat there on their couch playing WWE 2K20 where they just picked 3 random people and made them into a team. They all come out with the music together. You got some of Kairi Sane's and you got some of Asuka's. And then when they get to the top of the aisleway, they all do their signature poses at the same time. I promise you, it looks just like the game. It doesn't work, just thrown together from nowhere down. We then arrived at our main event and get ready to holler, get ready to yell, get ready to call me a bald asshole, because I don't care. Sometimes all the cards come together and I have a good time. It doesn't just get an up, it gets the golden up. It was The Miz, Shawn Michaels and Dolph Ziggler preparing the contract for The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler at SummerSlam. And as always, Dolph Ziggler was really mad. It should have been him. It should have been him. And he was saying The Miz sucked and Shawn Michaels sucked. And if it wasn't for Dolph Ziggler, the whole company would have died 10 years ago. When Dolph did sign on the dotted line, though, he was shocked to hear The Miz say he can't wait for their match next week on Raw, because he thought the match was supposed to be this Sunday at the pay-per-view. But clearly Dolph needs better eyes, he needs glasses, or he needs a better lawyer, because he hadn't read the fine print. And in the fine print, it didn't say that he was going to face The Miz. It didn't say that he was going to face Shawn Michaels. It said he was going to face my dad, Goldberg. He came out like a wild beast. He chased Dolph Ziggler out of there. He signed the deal. And then he got on the microphone and said, "Guess what, son?" Well, he's talking to me. It's lovely. You're next. And I know, Saudi Arabia, but that is why this is even better still. Dolph Ziggler is the perfect opponent for Goldberg, because he can sell his ass off, and then we can see Bill being his old dominating self. And look, SummerSlam is going to be around about 42 hours. This will be a really quick fight. I bet they fight all over the place. I bet it's really fun, and we will need that respite. And I'm not going to lie, I just like seeing Goldberg. I know I'm alone. I know Matt Riddle doesn't agree, and we'll talk about that later on a Why video. But I was jumping around like a fool. It made me pop. And surely that is the point of wrestling. I do want to point out that The Miz said this was in the fine print, and what kind of contract, which is meant to be a match, meaning the sole point of the contract should be about the match, would put the participants of the match in the fine print. That's just strange. I don't care. I love Goldberg. I can't wait to see Goldberg versus Dolph Ziggler. Probably a hypocrite in some things. I'm sure I've said things you go, "Oh, Miller, you said this." Don't care. Don't care. Love Goldberg. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode of Raw. Like, share, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com. Read yourself some articles about Goldberg. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE. But maybe being manned by Goldberg. It's not. And watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling, one of which definitely later or soon is about Goldberg, because I filmed this. My name is Simon Miller. Thank you very much for watching Ups and Downs. I always get a kick out of it. Remember, tomorrow, 2 p.m. BST, tune in to SmackDown Ups and Downs Live. Maybe we'll find out who tried to kill Roman Reigns. And also, it's the last damn show before SummerSlam. I'm quite pumped. I think WWE has done a good job. To the point I forgot to up or down it, didn't I? Where's my swirly arrow? Maybe too late. I think we are too late. I don't care. It's getting up. The show is getting it up.